This is a Film Stories original podcast.
When you make decisions for your company, you look for the no-brainers. And if you have a lot of mailing to do, Stamps.com is the ultimate no-brainer. Mail checks, invoices, documents, and everything you need to keep your business running. Get rates up to 89% off USPS and UPS. And with the mobile app, you can take care of mailing on the go. Make the same no-brainer decisions as over 1 million other businesses with Stamps.com. Sign up at Stamps.com with code PROGRAM for a special offer. That's Stamps.com, code PROGRAM.
We made this.
Welcome everyone to the X-Cast. The truth is in here. This is our special Fight the Future Minute podcast. I'm Russ Hugo, and you're listening to our coverage of minute 49 of the X-Files, Fight the Future. This minute begins at 48 minutes, and this is where Bronschweig finds the body being empty in the cave, and terror ensues. It ends at 48:59. And today I'm joined by fellow ex-castee, Deana Ferreri. How you doing?
Hi, Russ. How are you?
Good. This is quite the run of minutes we've got going here, and I hope it pays off without too many jump scares.
Yeah, it's about to get really exciting.
Here we go. So let's get into it. We've got some terrifying stuff. Since I think I rambled a bit longer on minute 48 at the beginning, I'm going to let you take us off from the beginning here, if you don't mind.
Okay, so at the beginning of this minute, we see Bronschweig walk into this big vacuum-sealed room where the body is. He looks over at the body, and that's when we see this body with a big hole in the torso, and it looks like something has jumped out. And so Bronschweig starts to panic and whips off his helmet. He starts running back and climbing up the ladder. And then all of a sudden he looks to his right and he can see the alien, and we can't see it yet. We just sort of see this little sliver of skin in the corner of the screen. And Bronschweig looks at it sort of really fascinated, really in awe. But then he starts climbing down the ladder to get a closer look. At which point I'm yelling at him at the screen to climb up the ladder to get as far away as possible. I don't know. Do you have that same reaction?
Oh, yeah. There's a bunch of things that kind of don't make sense. I get it that you're going to take the helmet off because you want to see. You want to see around you and make sure nothing's around. But at that moment, you got to think, if you're having this containment suit on and the thing has burst open, my thought is, again, going back to F. Emasculata, just get out of there. Put the helmet on and run out. Come back with some people with some guns. You don't know anything that's going to happen. This is also a part of the film that lost it for me, and part of when the mythology kind of lost it for me, that you went from a much more abstract idea of an extraterrestrial and then pretty much just ripped off Alien. And this is where it happens. Not only do we have, instead of just a chest burster, you have a fully grown alien that's larger than the hole that it came out of. Much larger in mass.
That is a good point.
Than the body that is still there, that is already rip-roaring, ready to go. So it can multiply mass somehow. Maybe it's photosynthetic and it's got a mirror that's shining up to the sky. I don't know how this works. And you just have to kind of close your eyes and just go with it. But then the fact that it's such an obvious ripoff of so many other science fiction stories. And to go, okay, that's fine. It's fine to borrow from popular culture. But I think it's a disappointing direction to go in. To go from X-Files is dealing with generally a more idea of intellectual aliens. At least they're technocratic deity sort of out there, and we turn it into what is basically a mindless attack creature. And you go, okay, is this the alien-human hybrid that we've been talking about so long, and that's just inherently going to be this violent monstrosity? But it doesn't match with, or in my opinion, it doesn't track with what we've seen with the past 5 seasons. Like, how is this related to anything that would have this complex plan or anything? It's just this violent, claw-ripping, screaming predator alien hybrid.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. One of the things I notice is that this particular alien, this really frightening alien with like the claws and the mindless attacking, it's like we only see this alien at the very end of the end and here in Fight the Future, and then in the beginning, and we never see it before that, we never see it again. And everything else we've seen in the previous 5 seasons is a lot different. We've seen a lot of the I guess the hybrids or the clones, like the many different Samanthas, and the male clones who were working in the labs in Memento Mori. We've seen a lot of those. We've seen the shapeshifter, the bounty hunter who can shapeshift. We've seen some other shapeshifting aliens, I think, with like the green blood, and we've never seen anything that looks like a monster, and that's what we're seeing here. Yeah.
We've seen the bees, we've seen the oil, and they've all kind of behaved differently. If I'm going to borrow a page and an idea from Darren Mooney, similar with his thesis about Gethsemane and the Redux trilogy, that it is Carter's attempt of doing that version of the X-Files and how everybody does different versions of the X-Files. Perhaps this is just an attempt of saying, I'm going to take all of these X-Files elements and do a summer blockbuster. And that's it. So I'm going to take my Alien, I'm going to make it just like Independence Day mixed with Alien or Predator or whatever. Just that's what we're going to do. We're going to dumb it down and make it exciting. And otherwise take our tropes. And for that, I can understand it. I don't enjoy it. I don't think it works. And it's not the worst thing ever. It's just boring.
Yeah, I enjoy the the black oil and the bees and those sort of more abstract and mysterious expressions of the alien a lot more. But yeah, I think that sounds accurate. It's like, okay, what parts of the X-Files could we sort of morph into the summer blockbuster? It's like, okay, let's make the alien really scary.
Yep. Yeah, and instead of the black oil, which you could have just done that and just done the previous Piper Maru and all the others where it's just possesses you and you do things. Instead, now it's a toxin and it turns you into a monster that can extend its claws and scream and all of those things. Okay.
And like, yeah, not to get too far like into the weeds of this, is like I never understood. It seems like the black oil can do many different things. The black oil can do, like in Piper Maru and Apocrypha, well, it can control the person. But here it seems like it's doing the gestating alien, but also the bees, the virus and the bees are doing the gestating alien. I always feel like I need a big mythology flowchart. Like I need to sit down and make one to like figure all this out.
Yeah, because as much as the truth purports to sum up some of these things, I think the Syndicate plot line is pretty coherent in that sense. When it comes to the aliens and who they are and why anybody's doing anything and which one's which and how these things behave, chalk it up in the past as being variety. Like, there's just various kinds of black oil, but when it's so close to a monstrous archetype,
it's definitely difficult to keep track of.
The end result is so uninteresting. What's the point? That we have this massively advanced race of creatures that can build these spaceships, yet how do they behave? They jump out, scratch and scream and jump around at you, and that's that. Okay.
Yeah, which actually doesn't make sense from the point of view of humans being the host for these aliens to gestate. If the alien comes out just like roaring and ready to attack and like just kills a human, well, that doesn't really further the alien race either.
No.
Right?
Yeah. For a show that generally tries to be more science-friendly, to have something about all of these questions that are just kind of... Yeah, it's larger than the host body. Yeah. It can move, and it's fully grown and has all of its strength and energy just after it's been... Okay, fine. Just nod, smile. That's okay. But when I look at it from the narrative sense, it's just the X-Files offered something of popular culture that was different. And then you come to the summer blockbuster here, and it's so much that we've seen in other films. It's disappointing for that reason. That we could have done something a little bit better and a little more cerebral, a little bit more interesting. Or at least something fresh, like you said, the bee scene. Even if it doesn't make a ton of sense, at least it's something new and fresh. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen that kind of a setup. But we have seen that's the finale in hundreds of movies already. So
yes.
And like you were talking about at the beginning, I mean, we've been going off about this for a while, is like so many other films, that if you have a character who's set up to be cautious and intelligent, and then in the next 30 seconds goes back on that 100% just to build tension, you're going to take me out of the narrative. So you have this, we're introduced to this scene with Bronschweig talking about double check, recheck everything. He's putting on a hazmat suit. He's surrounded by all these people. These people are prepped. They know what they're doing. He goes down there, acts completely irrationally.
Yes.
Knows there's either a viral threat or a creature. He knows something. If he's this close to the syndicate, which he is, he probably knows these things are violent. He has to. I mean, they have to know some of this is implied. Or at least he knows enough to be cautious. He's down there without any protection, whether for biohazard or weapons. And everybody else up there is just like looking like a bunch of kids, like, what's going on? They're not saying, come on up here, we'll come down there later. It's frustrating. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I do like his reaction when he said the acting. He says, wait, I can see it. I think that was good delivery. I'm going to give him that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Any thoughts before we wrap up minute 49?
That's all I have, yeah.
All right. Well, okay, so that wraps up our latest Fight the Future Minute. Thanks for listening, everyone. And thanks again, Tina, for your patience and eloquence. We're going to be back for minute 50. Can you believe it? We're moving up. And this is where we get to see a very, very violent, brutal death. So until our next minute, remember, as always, trust no one.
Previously on the We Made This Network. Make it so.
Someday we will sing songs of the battle of Discovery's survival. Through adversity.
Yeah.
And, Tony, if it had been any other series, if it had been any other project, if it had been any other project other than, being the flagship to launch a whole new commercial enterprise by a little entity no one ever heard of called CBS, if it had not had a three-way pressure point, if there'd been this kind of problem in development on anything else, they would have pulled the plug and, walked away. But it was Star Trek, and it had to launch this new series, and the whole world is watching. So, by God, keep throwing money at it until we get something on the screen, literally.
Pull or pass?
Amazon Prime in the UK is now listing New Mutants as a pre-order.
Yes.
It's got a 12 rating, and it's got no release date.
Yeah. But you can pay for it up front.
You can. And, I'm almost tempted, because it'll just kind of drop in your Amazon when it's available. And it's a film I've wanted to see for a very long time. I wonder whether we'll notice that the cast have aged by the time we get to see that film.
The Movie Palace.
Okay, so the main reason we're here, of course, is this new book, Daring Darlene, Queen of the Screen. How would you describe this book to people who are unaware of it? You can give away as much of the story as you want, I guess. But yeah, how would you kind of pitch it, I suppose?
Well, it's a story of a girl named Darlene, who has been an actress in the silent film industry since earliest childhood. She was a child star.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.